Prabhuji, you're live and you're muted. You can start, Prabhu.
Dear devotees, good evening. Hare Krishna Prabhuji's devotees, thank you very much. We're going to do a Bhagavad Gita class today in 16th chapter. Let's start with do a Mangalacharan. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshur Urmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadadikam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Devamruta Swami Itinamane Pracharya Puradaksham Cha Bhaktachara Pravinata Parartata Pikaranyam Yashe Sarvitya Namaha Om Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Itinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prachasta Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srinivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Panchakalpataru Brashacha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevata Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We will do the Chatursloki in Bhagavad Gita before we start chapter 16. This is Bhagavad Gita 10th chapter, verses 8 to 11. Aham sarvasta prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly knows this engages in my pure devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. This is what Bhagavan Sri Krishna talking to Arjuna, the battlefield. And 10:9, Machitta Madgata Prana Bodhayantasya Parasparam Katayantasya Mam Nityam Dushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully developed to my service, and they derive greatest satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another. 10:10 etam tesam satati yuktanam bhajatam pritipurakam dadami buddhi yogantam yenamam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they come to me. 10:11 tesam evanukampartam aham ajnanajam tamaha nasayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamps of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Devotees, we also do these three slokas, particularly from Srimad Bhagavatam, uh, first canto, 8th chapter, 21 and 22. This is Kunti Devi prayers, very beautiful prayers. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, the other cowherd men of Vrindavana, and the enlivener of cows and senses. 1:8:22. Nama Pankajanabhaya, Nama Pankajamaline, Nama Pankajanetraya, Namaste Pankajangre. My respectable obeisance unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as a lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses. Isvara Parama Krishna. This is uh, Brahma Samhita by Brahma, prayers to Bhagavan Sri Krishna in Vrindavan. 5.1 Isvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Nadinadi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has the eternal blissful spiritual body, and he is origin of all, and he has no other origin than he is prime cause of all causes. Very nice. These are nice prayers before we start Bhagavad Gita class, because Bhagavan Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he himself, 5,000 years ago, in the battlefield, Kurukshetra, talking to, leading Arjuna from a distress called, he had a nervous breakdown in the battlefield. And Bhagavan Sri Krishna is doing psychotherapy to Arjuna. And his conversation took place for about 45 minutes. And that's about a therapy session nowadays people have it, right? But and the people, they have a lot of therapy sessions to get themselves back. But here, Arjuna is highly evolved devotee, pure devotee, and that conversation took 45 minutes. And Arjuna, at the end of the conversation, from being rejected, dejected, don't want to do battle, to say at the end of the session, surrender to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And he said, now I have got my knowledge and senses back. I'm fully ready to serve you. And that's how it started, right? And the Bhagavad Gita talks about 5 important elements. That is Ishvara, the Supreme Lord; Jiva, the living entity; Prakriti, material nature; Kala, the time; Karma, the action and reaction. And if you see, Bhagavad Gita divided into 3 sections. Section 1 to 6 chapters attaining Bhakti Yoga through Karma Yoga. Chapter 7 to 12, these are 6 chapters, middle section of the Bhagavad Gita, is purely describing about Bhakti Yoga. Chapter 13 to 18 chapters, these 6 chapters, attaining Bhakti through Jnana Yoga. This is beautifully kind of organized in that way. Srila Prabhupada is beautifully translated this from Sanskrit to English. And then, like we talked about chapter 13 to 18, these are jnana, attaining somebody through knowledge to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. The end of that is to have pure devotional service. And the 13th chapter 1 to 2, Arjuna begins with this chapter. This entire section goes until 18, but the beginning is 13, where asked about 6 important questions that is very vital. It's not out of curiosity, but he wants to hear from Bhagavan Sri Krishna how he views the world. He wants to see the world through his lenses. He asked this question of the Prakriti. What is the Prakriti? What is the Purusha, the enjoyer, the Kshetram, the field, Kshetragnam, the knower of the field, Jnanam, the knowledge, the Gnayam, the object of knowledge. So like I said, this is viewing the world through Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya is let go. The science of spiritual knowledge is a Sankhya, as opposed to science. Science nowadays we talk about brings the comforts to human life, makes more bondage for the comforts. Whereas Sankhya gives you the spiritual knowledge, thereby liberates you on the overall. It is timeless as well as timely. It is not a set of collection of data information, but it is the process of gaining knowledge to understanding Sankhya Yoga and the Bhagavad Gita is to have attitude of looking at how you look at the world through Bhagavan Sri Krishna's lens. That's the key. And then 6 to 7 chapters, the Sankhya in a nutshell, 26 elements. The 5 is the elements, Bhumi, Apo, Nalo, Vayur, and the 5 senses, knowledge acquiring senses, 5 working senses, and 5 objects, sense objects like form for eyes, sound for ears, and smell for nose, taste for tongue, and touch for skin. And the 4 subtle things, there's the mind, intelligence, ego, and the 3 unmanifested nature, material nature. That becomes 24. And the Kshetrajna is the individual soul, and the Paramatma, the super soul, is present in all individual souls along with. So this is the bedrock philosophy of Sankhya Yoga. And then 8 to 12 verses in 13th chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna reveals he says, I declare these are the 20 processes of knowledge. What is the importance of this is the 16th, if you say constant, unalloyed devotional service to me, Avyabhicharani Bhakti. That is the important process of knowledge that enlivens the human soul and connects the human soul to the higher soul, which is the constitutional position. And how do we do that in this modern context? by approaching a bona fide spiritual master who is in the line of disciplinic succession, all the way from Krishna, in our line of discipline succession from Bhagavan Sri Krishna to Brahma, Brahmaji to Narada Muni to Madhvacharya to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, through Parampara, six Goswamis, Parampara, all the way up to Srila Prabhupada, who came in 60s through Jaladuta, which is a ship, cargo ship, all the way from India to United States. For 30 days he traveled to brought this knowledge to West. And then what is the connection link between 13 to 14 chapter is 13, 22 verse. There is Purusha Prakriti Stohi, Bhungte Prakriti Jangram, Karana Guna Sanyasya, Sad Asad Yoni Janmasu. So here is the one where the three modes of material nature, how the life is conditioned by three modes of material nature, talks about in this verse. And how the body transmigrates because of soul is bound to three modes of material nature, mode of goodness, mode of ignorance, and mode of passion. And how do you disentangle from this, dissociate from these modes of nature? Through having a Krishna consciousness. That is changing the conception of our consciousness from being bound to material to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. How do that change can happen? By hearing from authorized authoritative source. That is exactly what's happening now. When we are discussing about Bhagavan Sri Krishna's Arjuna's conversation, this is authoritative source. Who this translated? Prabhupada, who is a pure devotee. So this is how we learn the science of knowledge through from an authoritative source. So by conditioning, the soul is transmigrating from one life to another. It can be a demigod, it can be a bug, worm, or whatever. This is all nityabaddhas. So another way to explain this, how soul through consciousness bind to three modes, sattva, rajas, tamas. There's mode of goodness, rajas, mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of tamas is mode of ignorance. And there are these ropes are metaphorical ropes, how consciousness bind to these three modes. And so that jiva is everly transmitted from one life to another. And this is beautifully translated here, the same concept by Kapila Muni to Devahuti and 3:25:15. The stage in which the consciousness of living entity is attracted by the three modes of material nature is called conditioned life. That's what, for a question from Mother Devahuti, Kapila Muni says that. But when the same consciousness is attached to the Supreme Person of Godhead, one is situated in the consciousness of liberation. From conditioned life to liberation is how you mold our consciousness, either to Bhagavan Sri Krishna or through three modes of material nature. And this is also beautifully reflected by in Srimad Bhagavatam 7:188. This is a conversation between Narada Muni and Maharaj Yudhishthira. Narada Muni says, when the quality of goodness is prominent, the sages and demigods flourish. With the help of that quality, with which they are infused and surcharged by the Supreme Lord. Similarly, when the mode of passion is prominent, the demons flourish. And when the ignorance is prominent, the Akshasa and Rakshasas flourish. The Supreme Person of Godhead is present in everyone's heart, fostering the reactions of Sattva, Rajas, Tamo, Guna. That's a beautiful verse. And then Prabhupada talks about Supreme Person of Godhead is not partial to anyone. He's not partial to anyone. He is equal to all, just like he gives an analogy also how sun rays is not partial to anyone. Sun rays falls everywhere, including poor neighborhood, rich neighborhood, filthy neighborhood, to opulent neighborhood. So it is person who want to access these sun rays. Similarly, Lord Sri Krishna is equal to all. The conditional soul is under the influence of various modes of material nature, and behind material nature is the Supreme Person of Godhead. But once victory or loss under the influence of sattva, rajas, tamo, gunas reactions, not the Supreme God's partiality. Because we are conditioned to one of the gunas, one way of our consciousness, and Supreme Bhagavan, Supreme Lord, as Super Soul, as Hanumanta, observing, he sanctions based upon our karmic reactions. And then the next chapter, 14:26, this is the very vital verse at the end of this chapter, 14:26. Mam chayo vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunam samatityante brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. And this 15th chapter, his connection here, also continues on these three modes in a different context with very nice analogy Bhagavan Sri Krishna gives. Verses 1 to 5 describes how one's feeling free oneself from the weakness of the heart, that is conditioned life, conditioned to three modes of material nature. And verses 6 to 12 talks of Purushottama Yoga, that is Bhagavan Sri Krishna is abode, the Gokula, and the importance of it. Once the soul goes there, it never comes back. So, and again, the weakness of heart is one who give up the avyabhicharya bhakti, that is pure devotional service. If they have some desires, you would automatically detach from pure devotional service, material desires, I mean. So, and it increases propensity to attachment to matter. How do you cut that off? By avyabhicharya bhakti. And in this age of Kali, in the verse we're going to talk about also, it talks about chanting 16 rounds. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for this Kali Yuga said how you develop avyabhicharya bhakti, first chanting 16 rounds. When? In the time of sacred time and sacred place. Where is the sacred place? As a temple or in your altar. How do you do that? With this bead, it has 108 beads, these tulsi beads and one head bead. And start from head bead, count the first bead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That's it. So that's the pure ROI devotional service starts with the tongue. There's chanting 16 rounds. And following the four regulated principles. There is no illicit sex, no gambling, no meat eating, and no substance use whatsoever. So these four regulated principles get us to the human platform, that is sattva platform, that is goodness. From there to the sattva, that is more of pure goodness, you are attained by far chanting, by and also eating Krishna prasadam, offering prasadam Krishna and eating it as an eminent, and associating the devotees. That will disentangle from us from the matter. So one of the good way to associate in the evenings here, Bhagavad Gita class every 6 o'clock, 7 to 8 p.m. And also in the Bhagavatam class, we have Srimad Bhagavatam class, third canto we're doing now. Beautiful, actually came to fourth canto, very beautiful. So that's where you learn the importance of association. And then 15th chapter here, we will beautifully talk about a few verses and go to 16th chapter. We'll talk about our verse. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upwards and its branches downwards, whose leaves are Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is knower of the Vedas. Very beautifully he says. The branches of this tree is extended downwards and upwards, nourished by three modes of material nature. The twigs are Vedas, objects of senses. The tree also has roots downwards, and those bound to the fruitive actions of the human society. This analogy also, knowing the Vedas, is the key. Also, in the verse we're going to talk about today, in 16 chapters comes, they're all connected. Bhagavan Sri Krishna beautifully orchestrates the knowledge from one chapter to the other. They're all interconnected. So, in the 3 to 4, the real form of these three cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, where its foundation is. But with the determination, one must cut down the strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Therefore, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrendered to the Supreme Person of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything extended since the time immemorial. And then important verse here is the 15:15. Sarvasya shaham hrudasanya visto matta smriti jnanam apohanancha vedasya charvai veda vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. That's a beautiful verse. This summarizes the entire knowledge of Bhagavad Gita in one verse. I am seated in everyone's heart, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says. And from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compeller of Vedanta, and I am knower of the Vedas. Beautifully it says. Right? And the 16th chapter now, this is the divine and demonic principles. This is a beautiful chapter. And we started out 13th chapter, right? Even and that reference, even we talked about in Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 1st chapter, 8th verse. Prahlad Maharaj talks about how the demonic and divine qualities that happens with people. Here in this entire chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna talks about that. 1 to 3, verse 1 to 3 translation. The Supreme Person of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cumulative cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifices, study of the Vedas, austerities, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault finding, compassion for all the living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for the honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belongs to godly men endowed with the divine nature. So these are the qualities. Sri Krishna spells it out on these 3 verses. What are the divine qualities? And then he talks about, so this is also in reference to 438 Srimad Bhagavatam. So a very beautiful verse here. The Supreme Person of Godhead said, this Bhagavan Sri Krishna is talking to Prachetas, who did the 10,000 years of devotional service. They were very helpful to each other. And Bhagavan Sri Krishna appears, Supreme Person of Godhead said, my dear sons of king, I am very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I am so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all the good fortune. Now you may ask benediction from me. So what's the result of this having the good qualities? That pleases the Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So if you are having divine qualities, that is the pleasing to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And having demonic qualities doesn't please him. That's what this verse means. So, and then fourth verse, pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belongs to those demonic nature, O son of Partha. And then verse 5, the transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation, whereas the demonic qualities make for bondage. Do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with the divine qualities. See, Arjuna is a pure devotee. He has divine qualities. But even the people with the divine qualities, they're still bound to material nature, goes through emotion, just like Arjuna went with the mental breakdown before the battle of the war. And then sixth verse, he says, "O son of Partha, in this world there are two kinds of created beings. One is called the divine, and the other one is demonic. I have already explained to you at length the divine qualities. Now hear from me the demonic qualities." So those who are the seventh verse, those who are demonic do not know what is to be done, what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. You see, no cleanliness, no proper behavior is found in them. Cleanliness, Prabhupada talks about in a different context. Cleanliness is both, in the Nectar of Devotion, cleanliness is both external cleanliness and internal cleanliness. How do you do external cleanliness? By taking shower, being clean, right? And what is the internal cleanliness? By chanting the Maha Mantra at least minimum 16 rounds daily. That cleanses the impurities in the heart. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Shastastakam, Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhavamahagavadi Nirvapanam. That's so beautifully Bhagavan Sri Krishna in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a devotee saying how this cleanses the heart, internal cleansing. So eighth verse, they said that this world is unreal, the whole learned people. So with no foundation, no good in control, they said it is proud of sex desire, producer of sex desire, and has no cause other than lust. Who said I corrected? Say corrected. Who said these people with the demonic qualities? They say this world is producer of sex desire, and no cause other than lust. See, that's the demonic quality. So, nine, further, following such conclusions, the demonic who are lost to themselves, who have no intelligence, engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Wow, that's happening all the way nowadays. Taking the shelter of the insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demonic, thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanence. And 11 to 12, they believe that to gratify the senses is the prime necessity of human civilization. Thus, until the end of life, their anxiety is immeasurable, bound by a network of hundreds of thousands of desires, absorbed in lust and anger. They secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. 13 to 15. The demonic person's thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more. This is my enemy. He is my enemy, sorry. I have to kill him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. This is how demons think. Prabhupada, Bhagavan Sri Krishna describes beautifully and Prabhupada translates. And then 13, 15 again, most translation. I am the enjoyer, the demonic mentality thinks. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man, surrounded by the aristocratic relatives. There is no one so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by the ignorance. 16, so perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusion, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment, fall down into hell. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without allowing any rules of or regulations. 18. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons became envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. And 19. Those who are envious and mischievous, those who are lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demonic species of life. You see, so demons are casted into, perpetually casted down into abominable spiritual lives. And 1620, attaining the repeated birth among the species of demonic life, O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. 21. There are three gates leading to the hell: lust, anger, and greed. Wow. Every sane man should give give this up, or they lead to the degradation of the soul. And 1622. The man who has escaped these three gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization and thus gradually attains the supreme destination. 1622. The man who has escaped these three gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to the self-realization, thus gradually attains the supreme destination. 1623. He who discards spiritual injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness, nor supreme destination. Then 1624. This is today's our verse. Let's talk about this verse, beautiful verse. Tasmas Shastram Pramanam te Tasmat Shastram Pramanam te Karya Vavastito Jantva Sastra Vidanoktam Karma Kartum Iharhasi. Tasmat, therefore, Shastram, the scriptures, Paramam, the evidence, Te, yours, Karya, duty, Akarya, and forbidden activities, Vyavasthit, too, in determining, Jnatva, knowing, Shastra of scriptures, Vidhana, the religious, Uttam, as declared, Karma, work, Kartum, do, Iha, in this world, Arhasi, you should. He who discards spiritual injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection, nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. We heard prior chapters, if you take shelter of the Shastras, Vedas, eventually the Vedas leads to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And there are also 15:15 we heard Bhagavan Sri Krishna himself talks about. If you know Vedas, through Vedas you know me. So if you fall away from injunctions, and then you won't attain the perfection. In this verse, beautifully, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Prabhupada, the translation purports, Prabhupada purport here beautifully said, as stated in the 15th chapter, all the rules and regulations of Vedas are meant to knowing Krishna. Right, in 15:15, we just heard it. If one understands Krishna from Bhagavad Gita and becomes situated in Krishna consciousness, engaging himself in a devotional service, he has reached the highest perfection of life, knowledge offered by the Vedic literature. That's it. If you know the Bhagavan Sri Krishna, you already know Vedas, because the essence of Vedas is Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And again, we talked about this in 14th chapter in the reference. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made this process easy in this age of Kali. He asked people to simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. and to engage in the devotional service. Just like we talked about, devotional service is 9 different processes. Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Bhavat, Sevanam, Archanam, Vandam, Dasham, Atmani, Vedanam, right? These are 9 different processes. And if you start by listening, Shravanam, you're listening the Bhagavan Sri Krishna's message, this is a great start. And chanting, and about who? Vishnu, which is Krishna. This is the important information. And then and eat remnants of foodstuff we already talked about, offer to deity. This deity appears to us in front of this material, from our material world, so that we can relate to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Just like Prabhupada describes in one of the purports, just like in a post office, if you want to put it in a mailbox, that is authorized place for mail to carry from one place to other place through the U.S. Postal Service. Same way, the deity is authorized place for Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Anything you relate and you worship the deities, you worship to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And purport continues, one who is directly engaged in all these devotional activities is to be understood as having situated in Vedic literature. That means if you follow the Vedic activities, you're already in Vedic literature. You have studied Vedic literature. He has come to the conclusion perfectly. Of course, for the ordinary persons who are not in Krishna consciousness or who are not engaged in devotional service, what is to be done, what is not to be done, must be decided by the injunctions of Vedas. So if you're not in Krishna consciousness, automatically you follow the Vedas at least, because eventually you will come to Krishna consciousness. Purport continues, one should act accordingly without argument. That means argument is, again, you are not in mode of goodness. You are in ignorance or mode of passion and ignorance. You start arguing. That's called following the principles of Shastras or scriptures. Shastra is without the 4 principal defects that are visible in the conditioned soul. Imperfect senses. What are these 4 imperfect senses? Propensity to cheating, certainty of committing mistakes, and certainty of being illusion. These 4 principal defects in conditional life disqualify one from putting forth rules and regulations. Purport continues, one should act accordingly without argument. This is called following the principles. I think we went through this again. So therefore, the rules and regulations as described in the Shastras, being above these defects, are accepted without alteration by all great saints, acharyas, great souls. In India, there are many parties of spiritual understanding, generally classified in 2. There is impersonalist, there is people who is impersonalist, called Mayavadis. They don't consider Bhagavan Krishna as a supreme person. And the personalists are devotees who knows Bhagavan Sri Krishna as a person that he can relate to. So pretty much most of the world is, now we see, is impersonalist. People think about God as a mountain, plants, water, energy, any kind of connotations about Bhagavan Krishna is impersonalism. So, of course, you will learn Bhagavan Sri Krishna other aspects too, but it's indirect way of learning. That is, Bhagavad Gita chapter, Canto 1, second chapter, 11th sloka says, Tattva Vedanti Sat Tattva Vidas Tattvam Yajnanam Advayam Brahmeti Paramatmayete Sabdayete. So here, Bhagavan Sri Krishna can be accessed 3 different ways. That is Brahman aspect. There is all light. It's like in a sun globe, you have a light, right? There's a Brahman aspect. And the Paramatma aspect is individual super soul situated in individual soul, individual body, next to super soul, next to soul as a super soul, that is like compared to sun ray, individual ray. Whereas Bhagavan Shri Krishna is a sun globe, who is a sun globe is a personality himself. There is like a sun god. But just like that comparison where if you study Bhagavan Shri Krishna, the other two aspects, Paramatma and the Brahman aspects, are subordinate to the personal aspect. Just like individual father has his own energy, like better example is president of country. Yes, is a person. At the same time, government, entire country runs on behalf of his person. As government is nothing, this impersonal aspect. Whereas the person of impersonal aspect is president of the country. That's what Prabhupada describes that for us to better understand. So both of them, the personalists and impersonalists, however, lead their lives according to the principles of Vedas again. Without following the principles of scriptures, one cannot elevate himself to the perfectional stage. One who actually, therefore, understands the purport of the Shastras is considered fortunate, what it says. In human society, aversion to the principles of understanding Supreme Person of Godhead is the cause of all fall downs. That is the greatest offense to the human life. Therefore, Maya, the material energy of the Supreme Person of Godhead, is always giving us trouble in the shape of threefold miseries. That is, what are threefold miseries? That is, miseries coming from oneself, right? Uh, and miseries coming from other living entities. Miseries coming from the natural cause or demigods, right? These are three miseries. The Maya material energy causes these miseries to the conditional souls. Purport continues. This material energy is constitution of the three modes of material nature. Again, you see, the three modes of material nature we'll learn in 13th chapter, and again, it's beautifully orchestrated in the other chapters. One has to raise himself at least to the mode of goodness, just like we talked about before the path to understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be opened. If you don't get yourself to more of goodness, you don't have a qualification to learn about Bhagavan Shri Krishna. This is just like for yourself to go into law school or medical school, you got to go to college. You got to go to elementary school. You got to get a good grades, go to college, go to get grades, and take LCAT or SAT, and then you qualified to go into medical school. Same way, here you need to come into goodness. And that's what Prabhupada gave, 4 regulated principles. There is no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxications or whatsoever. So these 4 regulated principles get oneself to mode of goodness, that is human neutral stage. From mode of goodness, by devotional service, you ascend. So without raising oneself to the standard of mode of goodness, one remains in ignorance and passion, which are the causes of demonic life. So this material world is, this Kali Yuga is completely age of ignorance. Whereas the prior Yuga where Bhagavan Shri Krishna was, Dwapara Yuga was both mode of passion and ignorance. And whereas prior to Bhagavan Shri Krishna's, there's Dwapara Yuga was Treta Yuga. That is more of passion. Whereas Satya Yuga is more of goodness. See, from each yugas, the degradation of the consciousness of the people taking place to the lowest level of mode of ignorance in this age of Kali. So that's why Bhagavan Shri Krishna came as a devotee, just like a teacher, right? Elementary school teacher. If a student doesn't get the points, doesn't know how to write alphabets, the teacher sits next to the student and holds the student's hand, and then writes the alphabets with the student. That's the beautiful analogy Prabhupada talks about. That is the mode Bhagavan Sri Krishna came 500 years ago in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he exemplified what is the pure devotion devotee is in this age of ignorance. And he gave, Prabhupada says, back door to Bhagavan Sri Krishna's Golak Vrindavan, back door through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is leading us directly to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is nothing but Bhagavan Sri Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani, who is a pure devotee, number one devotee of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So Nityananda Prabhu, who is the expansion of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Balaram Prabhu, is leading everyone. He is Adi Guru. So he's the Adi Guru Tattva. So through the pure devotee that we surrender through Guru, spiritual master, we reach Adi Guru, that is Nityananda Prabhu. And Nityananda Prabhu eventually leads one to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is nothing but Radharani to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And this is so beautiful, so lucky we are in this age of Kali. Even though we are inundated with this mode of ignorance, the fact that you talk about Bhagavan Sri Krishna, he talks about 10, Machitta Madgata Prana Bodhayantasya Parasmatam Gatayantasya Mapnityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. So if devotees, when they come together, they always talk about Bhagavan Sri Krishna because they're in love with Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And that is how we would, it is like having a vaccine. If you have a cold, right? If you have a cold, they give a flu shot so that you won't get a cold. Similarly, they have a vaccine for viruses, right? Herpes vaccine for zoster. People get vaccines so they don't get a herpes zoster. So similarly, Prabhupada says in the Nectar of Devotion, the vaccine for conditional soul in this world, in this age of Kali, is chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is the vaccine. How do we protect ourselves? This is called spiritual bubble. And that will immunize from contamination of conditional souls. And that is how Prabhupada was. Prabhupada was pure devotee. And he was completely in the line of, completely subjected to, surrendered to his Guru Maharaj, Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, Goswami Maharaj, who is a lion guru. He was fearless in declaring Bhagavan Sri Krishna's glories and destroying all the impersonalist Mayavadi's concepts of impersonalism. Impersonalism is nothing but you're praising the government rather than the president. President is the head. Similarly, if you're in a household, your father, right, even though you don't see him, he's at work, through his energies, through his money, he provides all the services to you, right? And if your father is gone for extended period of time for work, you won't say father is not there. His money is, the house is father. My clothes, all of this, these are my father. Because that's ridiculous to think like that, right? Because all this energy, the material things happens because the source of energy there, that's Father is there. So that's called energy is there because energetic source is there. So impersonalist Mayavadis focus on the energy and lose where's the energy coming from. That's Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So eventually they fall down, right? The purport continues. Those in the modes of passion and ignorance deride the scriptures, deride the holy man, deride the proper understanding of Supreme Personal Godhead. They disobey the instructions of spiritual master, and they do not care for the regulations of scriptures. In spite of hearing the glories of devotional service, they are not attracted. That is the key. So my thermometer, then how I know I am evolving in spiritual steadiness in my devotional service is my attraction to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. To the level I attract myself, to that level I elevate myself. There's a beautiful analogy Prabhu gave. There's 5 A's. Look at that. 5 A's, so beautifully said. One is attention. And actually, Vaiseshika Prabhu uh, uh, from ISKCON, Silicon Valley, beautifully says, where the attention goes, energy flows. Where the energy flows, and you absorb into that, right? And then from attention, absorption comes. And from absorption, you more and more absorb your then it became attachment. You're attached. Devotees are attached to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And then from attachment, naturally affection comes. From affection, you have a deep, natural attraction. So that is the 4A principle. There is attention, so that the energy flows there, and you absorb in that attention of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And then naturally you're absorbed, you develop attachment. And then you are attached to Bhagavan Sri Krishna, you develop affection and love for Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And then through that deep affection, you develop deep natural attraction to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So that is the key. If you're not attached, attracted, that means I'm getting away from divine qualities. I'm going towards ignorance and passion. That is the one key indicator that I gauge myself every day, whether I'm in Krishna consciousness or I'm away from Krishna consciousness. So purport continues towards the end. Now we're coming. Thus, they manufacture the impersonalists manufacture their own way of elevation. These are some of the defects of human society which lead to the demonic status of life. If, however, one is able to guide it by the proper and bona fide spiritual master, key, right? We talked about a prior 14th chapter, one of the verses, right? 13:12, I guess. That is having pure bona fide spiritual master is the key. There's a sixth process of knowledge, and the 19th process of knowledge there is having unalloyed devotional service. How does that happen? Through taking shelter of spiritual master. One can lead oneself path of elevation to the higher stage, and then one's life becomes successful. That is the end of that verse. So beautifully Prabhupada narrated that section. So in summary, what we learn beautifully the to the extent I am more of goodness, to the extent I'm elevating myself to more of goodness through chanting and hearing and through four regulated principles. To that extent, I evolve myself to more of divine qualities. In this chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna opens up 16th chapter. And the rest of the chapter talks about demonic qualities. But if you are not towards the devotional service, pure unalloyed devotional service, you are getting away from these qualities of divine qualities. You are going to mode of ignorance and mode of passion, uh, mostly mode of ignorance in this age of Kali. And then you are not attracted to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And then you will be casted life after the life, conditioned life. So the human life is a precious, most important life. We got to utilize this life so nicely so that we can elevate our consciousness. Just like in Srimad Bhagavatam, uh, third canto, 25th chapter, 15, uh, Kapila talked to the Devahuti's mother. You have to elevate your consciousness attached to Bhagavan Sri Krishna so that naturally you detach from material world. Thank you. With that, I'm taking off. Now we have Arti, Sandhya Arti. Let's go and see Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Rukmani Dwakadis in the temple. Thank you.